I like that. It's good.
Okay, Greg, you should see it.
I'm sorry. I I opened up Facebook and people started to share food.
Oh.
Lasagna.
I have to clear it out of my mind, you know? Hang on. This has to be right. Hey, I'm not seeing the live stream on Facebook. On YouTube, rather.
You don't see it? Refresh your YouTube page.
Yeah. All right, there it is. Got it. Hold on. Let me get it. All right, there it is.
So, who's the spokesperson for Umbrella? Are you guys together or?
We are all together.
Michele, I believe, is sort of the lead on this.
I have designated Michele our passion project leader, but we work as a team.
Oh, okay. Okay. I just want to make sure I have the order operation right here.
I have designated Michele our...
Uh-oh.
Oh.
What?
I heard myself. I sound pretty good.
No, that's okay because I was doing that. I just stopped it.
Yeah. Yeah, just don't say anything that will
Let me just go ahead and mute myself now. Yeah, okay.
You're alive.
Okay, so I am posting this on Facebook and now I have to share it with a bunch of groups. And this is going to take a minute.
Ebony and Carlissa and Michele, actually all three of you, are you able to pan your cameras down a little bit? So I can get, yeah, there we go. Okay, you're good, Carlissa. Ebony, a little bit more. A little bit more. There we go. Carlissa, a little bit more for me.
Sorry. No, you don't want me to go too much more.
All right. Oh. You're fine. You're fine. And Michele, just bring it down a little more. There you go. Okay, beautiful. All right, perfect. It was just like talking heads, you know, below the rim line.
Oh, really? That's not what I see.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm in my main studio, so I see everything here. Yes.
Got the keys to the world. It's the
Keys
man
to the
behind
world.
the curtain.
You see everything.
Oh, yeah.
The man behind
Everything.
the curtain.
Yeah. I'm the guy behind the curtain. This is Oz.
I'm comprising a letter that we'll write to him of things we need for the peace initiative. Greg, you're sharing it with everyone?
The world.
Universe?
I'm sharing this with the entire world. Turns out we're good in China, so I pick up another 4 billion that way.
Okay.
Bear with me, just be another minute.
Ebony and Carlissa, did you all even talk to each other about both wearing a red shirt?
Did not.
No.
Just naturally in sync.
All of us, we all share a brain.
Mm-hmm.
You got the memo, though.
I was like, I'll put a little red.
You're complimentary.
good topic. And
It is.
yeah, and so we're gonna help a lot of people. Ruben, whenever you're ready, we can get it started. I don't hear Mozart. I usually hear Mozart.
Yeah, he's playing.
There he is. We pay him enough. I want to hear him play.
Okay, Greg, it's all yours.
Welcome, welcome, everyone. It is 6:26 on Monday night. You're listening to the 234th installment of the Age Out Angels Radio Hour on www.hamiltonradio.net. Channel 2. I'm your host, Greg Rapport. If you're new to the show, I'm the founder and executive director of Age Out Angels. We provide one-to-one mentors to vulnerable youth for the purpose of coordinating the care and services that they need to thrive. We try to help young people avoid some of the horrible pitfalls that they're likely to face when they don't have a proper safety net. And this program is brought to you every week at the same time, courtesy of Doc G, William Saunders, Ruben Rodriguez, and all the fine people here at Hamilton Radio who allow us to use this airtime. Ruben is on the big board tonight. Robin is producing. It's been like a month since we've done a show. I've missed you. I've missed you all. I missed you, Ruben. I missed you, Robin. I missed the audience. And thanks for hanging in there. If you were looking for our show at like 6:10 and you waited till 6:26, thank you. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, but I promise it'll be worth your while. I miss each and every one of you, and it's so good to be back on the air and presenting things that we hope you will find to be as important as we think they are. Now, please, if you're looking at us on Facebook or YouTube, take a moment, hit all the buttons for me, okay? I need you to like and subscribe and share. This is relevant to everyone in your world. Tonight we're going to talk about adverse childhood experiences. This topic applies to every geographic region, everywhere in the world. There is no place that this topic doesn't apply to. So please share this, because guess what? You're not going to hear it on the nightly news. You're just not. This is the only place where you can actually get this information. So yeah, tonight we're going to focus on adverse childhood experiences, and most importantly, we're just not going to wring our hands for an hour and talk about how horrible they are. We're going to talk about how you can be part of the solution. Just one thing quickly. This is like a difficult topic tonight, and it can trigger some rather deep feelings. So remember, during or after the show, if you feel like something in this topic is getting to you, call 988. Just stop watching the show and dial 988. Talk to a trained peer counselor. We seek to educate our audience, not play with your emotions. But actually, I got to tell you, it happened to me recently. I was at a sort of a dinner situation, and people ask me about what I do, and I tell them about Age Out Angels, and I try not to be too graphic in dinner conversation, but there's a truth and a reality to it as well, that I want people to understand. And we started talking about ACEs. And one of the people at the table took the ACEs quiz and got a reasonably high number. And it was, it was sort of like, oh, wow, she had, sort of never confronted it in that way. And that's what I mean when I say triggers can happen when you're talking about this stuff. Sometimes something you're not expecting just kind of hits you and gets you. And when that happens, you got to be able to have the right supports to do that, okay? Before we go further with adverse childhood experiences, let's talk for just 1 minute about the Bridges to Employment program. Because I want youth everywhere out there to know that there's money out there. There's real, actual money. Right now, if you're a young person, if you're 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 24, 25 years old, if you're in that range of age, you can make money. You have to measure up to a certain amount of education. That's the cutoff, and it all goes by grade level equivalent. So honestly, I don't care if you have a high school diploma or not. That means nothing in the job market. You're going to be tested just like if you wanted to go to college and you took the AccuPlacer exam, or if you want to go into the military, you take a test. They couldn't care less if you have a high school diploma. You got to get to the 10th grade level equivalent in that test. And when you do, When you get to the 10th grade level equivalent, boom, fireworks go off. All kinds of doors open up for you for vocational careers or the military or college if you want to go on. So the difference between minimum wage for like forever or having a vocational career where you can make enough money to just catapult yourself into the middle class is right there. I mean, it's right there for it to happen. So, like, it's a year away. I'll be honest with you, it's a year of hard work away. You have to work for a year. But if you dropped out of school 3 years ago, what have you really been doing for the last 3 years? Seriously, what have you been doing? Have you been working a little bit part-time for 12, 15 an hour? Is that what you've been doing? Have you running the streets? Have you progressed at all in your life? So if the last 3 years since you dropped out of school, you really haven't made a whole lot of advancement forward, what I'm saying is give the Bridges to Employment program 1 year. Give it 1 year of your life. 1 year if you wasted the last 2, or if you wasted the last 3, or even if you wasted the last 6 months. Give it 1 year. Give it 1 year and you'll see that there's a way where you can climb out of having to live to survive. Man, I will tell you the hardest thing about dropping out of school and then going back is to carve out the time to go back. Because here's what happened. When you dropped out of school, that time suddenly became available to you and you filled it. And lots of times people fill that time with what I call survival interdependency. And that's what I believe it is, because you need to survive, right? So you might make a deal where you can sleep at a place and eat at a place, but you maybe watch their kids during the day while they go to work so they make money, so they can pay the rent and you have a place to sleep. And it's all interdependent. It works together. You might be doing someone's hair. You could be watching someone's kids. You never know how you can cobble together your life so that you can make it work, so that you can have a place to sleep and food to eat. You see? And when your life becomes interdependent in that way, it becomes very, very hard to go back to school. So guess what? We will actually give you a private tutor who will work with you when you're done cleaning up dinner. Okay? Because guess what? You can't go to school and cook dinner at the same time either. So when you're done your chores, when you're done the things that made you interdependent, the things that keep your life going, we're there. We're there. And give us a year of that, and we can change your life. School was never like this before, may never be like this again. So please, if you were ever in the foster care situation and you're between the ages of 16 and 24, you qualify for the Bridges to Employment program. If you want to know where the money is, call me directly, 609-306-0821, or email to greg@ageoutangels.org and say, hey, Greg, where's the money? And I'll be happy to show you where it is. Okay. My guests tonight are nothing if not ambitious. Wow. These 3 people bit off way more than I could chew. I'll tell you that right now. They have put together a program that is designed to address what I've always considered to be one of the core issues that affect the ability of a young person in foster care to progress successfully through life. And of course, what I'm talking about are adverse childhood experiences. So let me welcome you one at a time. First, the project lead on the show is Michele Rodriguez. Hi, Michele. Great to have you on the show. And Carlissa Snowden Gause.
Right.
Did I say it right?
Most is great. Yeah. Good enough.
Okay. And what's your role in this, Clarissa?
So I'm a co-chair with Michele and Ebony. My role is bringing the connections part back to it. I do all the connections and the positive childhood experiences. So our events, our family events.
Yes, and we're going to get to that. We're going to draw that distinction between adverse childhood experiences and positive PCEs.
Correct.
Positive childhood experiences. Yes, before the show is over. Good. And we're going to tell everyone who's listening how they can learn how to do this themselves. Ebony, you're part of the scholarship program.
Yes. I'm the scholarship programs manager, and then I'm as Carlissa said, I am sharing with Michele and her in regards to our P.E.A.C.E initiative.
So now, can I say in a nutshell, Michele, that sort of the overarching umbrella 10,000-foot view of this P.E.A.C.E initiative is to dramatically increase awareness of adverse childhood experiences and present a method where people who learn more about it can take this information back into their communities and use it for some good?
Yes, you can. But I would just add to that, there's a focus specifically on child welfare in New Jersey. So our overarching goal is to provide the education so that we can create, common language. It's important about adverse childhood experiences and what that is. And then also create opportunities for positive childhood experiences. So we don't know where it's going to go in the future, but I don't know about Ebony and Carlissa. Since we share a brain, I'm pretty sure we're all on the same page. I think where it goes in the future is where those who get involved in it, like you, Greg, on the advisory committee, where we all take it and whoever steps up in it. And the main overarching goal is to build a connected and healthy New Jersey child welfare community.
Oh man, I hope. I remember 5 years ago it was the Nurtured Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys remember that?
We're certified in Nurtured Heart.
We are.
And it sort of just didn't catch in that way. And so here we have a new method.
So wait, Greg, let me speak to that, because let me just tell you.
Tell me.
I share what you just said so much. I feel that the state cranks out a new training, sets up a new initiative, and then all of a sudden it's strengthening families or a nurtured heart approach. For me, the difference between ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, is that it is reliant and it teaches us that we all have the ability to lead. That if we understand the self-healing communities model and we understand adverse childhood experiences, then we can all work together to really change it, and that the community just needs the resources. So the state shouldn't be setting the curriculum for that great child welfare community. It should be the whole state that's involved with child welfare, from the youth, from the families, to the child welfare workers. So I 100% get your point. It was part of why we started this, honestly.
Yeah. Ebony, I just thought about you in the last second, because I assume you're representing more of the youth in this equation.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I've been hearing a lot lately, and I'm really starting to become a believer in, is why are we offering the youth a seat at the table when it's their table?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
very much so. I mean, I think, like we have said before, the youth just want to be heard, right? I think they're getting tired of us telling them exactly what they need to do, what they should want. They should be letting us know what they need, what they want, and we should be supporting them in that. And so giving them a voice and giving them a place to kind of express that is one of the things that we are trying to do.
Yeah. So how's the connection in Carlissa? How does the connection in the community and all that work for you?
So I'm a family support advocate for Bergen and Hudson counties with Umbrella, and for me, it's all about exactly that, making the connection in the communities, right? Connecting with the DCF staff, connecting with our caregivers, connecting with the children that are in care, making sure that everybody has that voice, that everybody's voice is being heard, the families have what they need to support the children in care, and also to support the biological families, because everybody comes from somewhere, right? And if we're not supporting everybody in this, we're not going to win. We can't have half a win that equals a full failure to me. So we need to make sure that everybody that's involved in the community, our birth families, our children, our resource parents, our DCF staff, is all supported, all healthy, all have positive experiences to fall back on, and make that connection just to kind of continue to support ourselves in the state. And my whole thing when I go out and talk to people is I feel like we're trying to put DCF, right? DCF out of business. I always get the acronyms wrong. But I want to put the people that have to take our kids into care. I want us to go out of business. I don't want
child protection and permanent.
Thank you.
CP&P specifically.
CP&P specifically, not child family, not Department of Children and Families, but we still need them. But CP&P specifically, like I want to put us out of business. I want them to go do other things, find other ways to be helpful in the community other than having to support broken families. Like I want to stop broken families.
You've said a mouthful, and so we could go so many different directions on this. The move is clear from the commissioner on down that where you serve whole families is where the emphasis will be moving forward. And you can extrapolate from that there shouldn't be a foster care system after a certain amount of time. Right?
That is the hope. That is the goal.
Okay, because all the families should get the support to do that.
I'm thinking about this, Greg, in my head, and I'm like, well, maybe there shouldn't be a traditional foster care system, but there are always situations where a child where safety and imminent risk is something that may happen. And in that case, we do need well-trained, loving, caring, able to connect with the biological families, but be resource parents for those situations. I think the goal is going forward. I know that with kinship, we do know, research has shown that kids do better in relative homes, but there's not always a relative available, or it may take some time to locate that relative. So I don't see foster care going away, but I see it being redefined to really better serve the families that just need a little support and help and guidance along the way, kind of thing is how I see it.
I couldn't agree with you more that there will have to be something there for those kinds of situations. I mean, I was a person who was in kinship care in the 60s. So I sort of get how you could be living a perfectly good life, and then all of a sudden, in the time of a finger snap, you could be in need of those kinds of services. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. But in the broader sense, Age Out Angels and Umbrella shouldn't really be that necessary in that scenario, right? I mean, let's get back to the part where we all get put out of business and I retire and go to Boca and fish.
I like the sound of that. I'll hold the net.
Right.
They can put all the money to scholarship, and then we can all just be working for Ebony. That would work too.
There you go.
Could you imagine though? Can we dream for a moment? There's 430,000 children in foster care in this country. Could you imagine if the system could be reworked so that in that grand way, so that families would be kept together? Carlissa, when you're doing that, when you're working with whole families, I mean, that could get complicated. There are extended families. There's, step parents and, children from different sort of situations. Are you one person in a care team, and who's in charge of that care team?
So I am one person. Umbrella is just a small part of the team that supports these families. Absolutely. I'm the person, I deal most directly with our resource and kinship parents. I very rarely have, unfortunately, interaction with birth families. So that would be our CP&P staff. But there's who's technically in charge would be the DCP&P caseworker. Right. They're the ones that oversee the entire case. They oversee all the things, all the support services. My role is to make sure that our resource parents have what they need. Our resource and kinship parents have what they need from DCP&P and the community to do the best job that they can to support the children in their home. And then ultimately, hopefully, connect with the birth families and be another support and resource, that extended family to the birth families.
It sounds like that could get rather complex. I mean, there could be everything from substance abuse issues in the home to just poverty, right?
Yeah.
Food, that sort of thing. That can be like extremely complex.
It is, I think, extremely complex. And I think that's too where we have to start creating those change makers in our community, right? Because it starts in the community. If the services aren't available in the community, you're just perpetuating the issues that caused the removal to begin with, right? Everybody has a struggle at some point. But are the services available in the community to support you in that struggle? It takes a village. Is the village a small, tight-knit village, or is it a spread out village?
Right. And root causes like, poverty being a root cause of of adverse childhood experiences, although not the only cause. Certainly, those same things happen in more socioeconomically advanced families, but poverty nonetheless leads to a stressor that can lead to adverse childhood experiences. So where did the three of you come together and decide that you were going to just become aggressively active in blowing this thing into the minds of the child welfare industry in the whole state of New Jersey?
Well, I can speak to that because it started when the Department of Children and Families actually sponsored the ACE interface training, and it was a process much like Nurtured Heart approach. But it was in combination with the Office of Resilience, which falls under the Department of Children and Families. And they did something unique. They brought Dave Ellis as an executive director, and he was not part of the New Jersey state government. So he was paid for by a grant from a variety of funders, Turl, Nicholas, I think. And he was phenomenal. So him and Dr. Anda, who is one of the doctors who was on the original ACEs study in the 1990s, trained child welfare workers, the NJEA, Umbrella. We had 2 seats at the table, and it was a lengthy training, and it took a year to get us certified presenters for the ACE interface training. And it's interesting because they're still around in New Jersey. They're currently working with Garden State Equality over in Asbury Park, doing great work still. So I got that training with a coworker who is currently on the advisory committee because she had accepted a job somewhere else. But Dave Ellis said that we needed to disrupt in order to create change. And I called Lisa after this training, and I was like, I'm ready for some disruption. Let's go. So, we spoke in great depth, and we came up with this training called Be the Change, which takes the principles behind ACE interface and brings it to the community in a way where you can follow it to make the changes in your community. So it provides that knowledge base that you need and shows you how you can build that support around you. And then we ran it together, Lisa and I, with resource parents and kinship caregivers across the state. And the ideas, the passion, the excitement. And then the next day, Lisa called me and she said, Michele, I think we should have a summit, healing and wellness. And that is how the Power to End Adverse Childhood Experiences initiative started. That was 2 years ago. So fast forward. And we're here today, and it's been nuts. But I will say, and this is a plug for the education part, ACE Interface, the 3-hour training, and Be the Change is a 2-hour training. It will be available to anyone who works within child welfare, to resource and kinship caregivers, to adoptive parents if the child or children were adopted through CP&P. And it is on the 21st of October. It's in Hudson County at the, Carlissa, help me out here.
Hudson County Technical School, the Frank Gargiulo campus.
Juba Jabba. Yes, it's hard to pronounce. It's a last name. But if you go on our website at umbrella.org with an E, not a U, because we embrace a lot. So umbrella.org / maybe? Let's go with that. Peace. What is it, Ebony? Is it it's forward? Yeah, okay, all right. It's always backward. It's always probably always whatever. Mm-hmm. Then P.E.A.C.E. -initiative you will get to a listing of all the activities, the positive childhood experience, which are falling under family and community engagement events, and the educational events. So, like I said, like it's been a long journey, so I know I'm blabbering it all out. But it's been phenomenal, and I really believe in that disruption, that tenacity, and Umbrella is filled with staff that are all so phenomenally passionate. So Umbrella itself, I credit them as an organization because they were like, yeah, let's do it. So
Ebony, you work with the kids. Do you know any youth in foster care who have not, or who have suffered, if at all, from a minor number of adverse childhood experiences? Do you know any?
I do not. I do not. Typically, we see our youth have experienced at least 4 different types of ACEs. So I honestly don't believe so. Mm-mm.
Yeah, 4. I mean, and 4 even seems like a low number. And maybe it may be who I'm meeting,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because my information is anecdotal. It's not
Mm-hmm.
statistical.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't met a female who hasn't been assaulted. I have not. And when I look at the questions, and when I show the ACE, it's almost weird because ACE has a positive connotation to it. You know, ACE,
Yes.
ACE is like
Right.
ACE. It's like a good thing. It's the top ACE, you know? Um, and I hope what the people who are listening to this show, who are hearing us throw that term around, ACE, that what we're talking about here are not the kind of adverse childhood experiences that most of us had. Like if you fall off your bike, that's an adverse childhood experience. It sucks. You skin your knee, you cry, you know, you do all that stuff. But that is a single acute incident. What we're talking about here in the case of adverse childhood experiences is frequently repeated traumas over and over again with no chance to heal. And the kinds of traumas that lead to an insecurity, I think a basic lack of safety.
Greg, let me interrupt you for 1 second here because
Go.
adverse childhood experiences actually can be a singular event. Something like
9/11.
Well, yes, if you had exposure to that, for sure. Even divorce is considered an adverse childhood experience.
True. Yeah.
So, a sexual assault, sex abuse, even if it was one time and it was, a relative that you're never going to see again, that would be an adverse childhood experiences. And it's also important to understand that you could actually have 8 adverse childhood experiences, yeah, and still really have coping skills. And that's where the positive childhood experiences come into play, because research in 2019 out of Johns Hopkins University showed that there are 7 different areas that if you have them in your life, and this is when you talk about poverty, right, and access to systems, that's why a lot of time I think youth in care, it builds on itself. But if you have the PCEs, if you have that one loving caregiver that's supportive and also knowledgeable, you can get through it a lot better. So there's no guarantee if you have 10 out of 10 ACEs that, you're going to have a heart attack when you're 30, or you're going to have mental health struggles. It just increases the likelihood, and that's important. And there's also ways to combat them with positive childhood experiences, that's why community, I think, is so important, right? That support, like what Age Out Angels does, what you were talking about with the education and the funding, all of that, those kind of supports.
They do say that if you address adverse childhood experiences in a positive way, that it's almost like a muscle that you can sort of retrain to allow yourself to function effectively, which is really, kind of what it boils down to, whether those adverse childhood experiences are actually inhibiting lifestyle to the point where a person can't function. We had a psychiatrist who was talking to us one time about a child who took the ACE test and scored a 13. And of course we said, how do you score a 13 on a 10-question test? And he said, well, some of the questions had multiple parts, and this young man had suffered all of them. So his score ended up being 13. So I want to explain to people that the program that you've developed is sort of split into two groups. One is an educational section where you can learn about adverse childhood experiences and then how to bring the information that you have to the community to create change. The other part is our just sort of a couple of family-oriented events to bring people together, right? So the first event coming up is going to be on Saturday, October 21. So if anybody is either near Secaucus or wants to travel to Secaucus, the Hudson County Technical School at One High Tech Way.
Well, don't give out the address. Oh no. They do have to register. They would have to register on Umbrella's website, and that will become available, we hope, within by tomorrow. And the first event is actually a community event, a family and community event at Constanta Healing and Wellness and Healing. At Safe
Healing.
Yeah.
At Safe Haven Farm.
Thank you, Carlissa. You got this.
I'm sorry. I was looking. I'm just looking at the brochure.
You're going through education. That's why that makes sense, because you're going the top. It starts with educational, and then the family is separate. Like the community and family is below it.
Okay, so Saturday, October 14th.
Yep.
Right.
And that's Fall Family Fun on the Farm. Okay, you used up all your F's for the month.
We love alliteration.
Or at least
big fans. Big fans.
So now what should happen here? Families who are resource families, right? Should come to the Constanta Wellness and Healing.
No, they should register for sure.
Yeah.
And then come.
I keep getting ahead of myself on the registration part, don't I?
Yeah.
You know why? Because I'm seeing the picture of the horse here on the brochure, and I get all excited.
It's exciting. It's exciting. We're excited. Yeah, they can go to our website, umbrella.org, and click on, what is it, events, Ebony? Let me click on events and then go to the Peace Initiative. They'll see all the events that we have coming up. If you are part of DCF staff or a kinship caregiver, an adoptive family, closed home, open home, traditional resource home, register and you can join us at any of the events that are coming up. Again, the first one is October 14th at Constanta Wellness and Healing at Safe Haven Farms.
Yes. Now, you do have to register, don't you?
Oh, 100%. You're making me so anxious.
I'm making you what? Well, why are you worried that like 20,000 people will show up that you didn't anticipate?
Yeah, the events are that amazing, Greg. Hello.
They're pretty cool.
I don't know if you've been to Umbrella events, but we got it.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Constanta Wellness and Healing at Safe Haven Farm. Lunch will be provided, so you really do have to.
Yes, and a water ice truck.
Yeah, when there's food, you got to register. That's just how
and
it is.
all of our events have food, including the trainings. I mean,
right, so
you're coming to the 21st, right? You're getting lunch and breakfast.
So that's the ACE interface and be the change.
Correct.
Yeah, I am just absolutely stoked to be a part of that program. And what made me curious about it is that, I mean, sometimes these things, if you see them a second time, it can be very, very, very helpful. So I think I signed up for it a second time later in the year, in May.
That's awesome.
In May, because I think sometimes it's really, really important if you want to internalize. So so we're talking about things coming up right away. So on October 14th, Saturday, whole family things happening at the farm. On October 21st, which is Saturday, in Secaucus, that's when the educational events get serious. Go to umbrella.com. I can't imagine that people who work in this industry don't know that umbrella is spelled with an E. Can you? I
can't imagine how they would not know that.
How could you not?
Why
know
would you
it.
not know that? Umbrella
No.
doesn't sound anything like umbrella.
Well, it's just that you're all so well known in the state.
We
Well,
are.
thank you. We like to think we used to be FAFs though, so it's it gets a little confusing.
Our old school peeps know us as
Mhm.
FAFs. So we're
Yes, I
FAFs
did.
for anybody
That's what I
that
knew you
Yeah.
as.
yeah. So any of our old school family, we used to be FAFs. We're still technically FAFs. We're just fancier FAFs now. We're umbrella.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So Ebony, are there going to be kids participating in this? Are we going to see some young people there, part of the
Yeah.
action?
That is the hope. Like so the invites are being extended to everyone. So our youth, our little kids, our young adults, our adults, like we said, we want everyone to know about ACEs and how to combat that, how to learn from that, and how to have these positive experiences. So yes.
So how much can you reveal, Michele?
About?
Well, come on, it's an educational experience. It's ACEs training and bringing it back to the community.
I will
What
tell
can
you,
tell us?
Greg, you're going to have us on after you go through ACE interface and be the change, because you were going to be like, mind blown. Seriously, I'm telling you, you're going to be like, Michele, Carlissa, and Ebony, come back on because we got to talk about those trainings. Holy macaroni.
I'm totally good with that. But give me a hint. Tell me.
Okay, sure. So ACE, Adverse Childhood Experiences, ACE Interface is actually who wrote it. It's actually called NEAR, which is neurobiology, epigenetics, but it starts with the study from the 1990s, which is interesting, Greg, because you know how you were saying, youth and families involved in foster care tend to have high ACEs. The study itself was middle class, upper middle class, mostly white women in California who had Kaiser Permanente.
Kaiser
Permanente. Yeah, they were the original healthcare managed care.
Right, in California. So they had great access to healthcare. They had pretty much what you would think they should have low ACEs. The majority of them had high ACEs. And the reason why they started the study is because these women were overweight and they were finding they'd lose the weight and then gain the weight. And then what they found is there was a lot of sex abuse, sexual assault in their backgrounds that they then went on to figure out there's a correlation here. Higher the number, the worse the outcome. When I say worse, it's not the right word, but the more likely you are to have these negative outcomes, such as, heart attack or alcoholism or even marrying an alcoholic. So you're going to learn about the study itself. You're going to learn about the actual results of the study and the correlation between ACEs, your score, and what that looks like, that dose response. And then we're going to go into the self-healing communities model, which is how you change it. And that's the beautiful part. And then we end with that on ACE interface, those 3 hours. We go for an amazing lunch. That's why you got to register, just saying. Yeah. And then we do 2 hours of Be the Change, which is actually talking about how we take what we just covered and turn it into actionable change. So that's my selling. Did I sell you? You good? You say.
I want to tell you that I see it like structured like multi-level marketing.
What?
The good multi-level marketing, like not
Are you saying we got a pyramid scheme going on over here?
Like the come one, come all, like we're gonna spread the love multi-level marketing.
Yeah, not a Ponzi scheme. No, because think about it. The reason multi-level marketing fails and only the people at the top make money and everyone else suffers is because it really and truly is possible to cover all of the possible people you can sell to. You can max out. People get involved in multi-level marketing thinking, well, I'll sell 5 and he'll sell 5 and there's 10 billion people in the world. We'll never max out and we'll all get rich, right? But that's not what happens. If you do the math, it's about like 5 or 6 generations into it that you're out of people in the country. You've already tapped the whole 300 million, 350 million.
That's fair. I like that.
If we could do that with this.
I'm on board. Sign me up.
Right?
I signed on the dotted line right now.
Right? The multi-level marketing, the pyramid scheme that works.
Yeah, for good. The pyramids.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
I don't
'cause
know. We better run this through communications. Pyramids.
no, I mean, no
for
money
good?
changes hands. It's not like, you have to send this letter to 20 of your best friends or any kind of
No.
stuff like that. There's nothing sneaky or snaky about it. It's just the way to disseminate information,
It's true.
using that structure to disseminate information. I wonder,
Yeah.
I wonder how that could be put together. So this all starts in 12 days is your
Yeah.
first event.
Yeah.
How many people do you need from Umbrella to actually work this event with the horses and everything? This could get complicated.
Well, we are looking. Well, no. So I should give a shout out to Constanta. They are and Safe Haven Farm because they're actually providing, and they are licensed LCSWs, licensed counselors. So they are providing the actual activities and the structure. All Umbrella is doing is paying for it and providing staff for guidance, working on the registration part of it and helping out on that respect. So really, Constanta, is it healing and wellness? It's healing and wellness.
Yes.
Healing and
They're doing it, and they're amazing. So it's going to be an amazing day.
I have a feeling that given the line of work they're in, they kind of know what they're doing.
They definitely know what they're doing. That's why we chose them. Yes.
So that's good. So now something that I know I'm not participating in, but other people should, is roll into gratitude.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Who
because
doesn't
I
wanna-
shouldn't be.
Who
ever
doesn't
be
want
on
to do
skates.
that?
Well, yeah, but I shouldn't be on skates, not just for myself, but for all those around me. I think I don't get on skates because I'm a giver.
Well, that's probably true for me too, but I'm getting on the skates.
Getting on skates. I'm looking for an 80s theme, so I feel like there should be a drawing for anybody that comes out in like 80s Madonna, like
I'm gonna be Cyndi
biker
Lauper.
pants, like Cyndi Lauper, like bring me all the 80s music videos, 80s proms, like let's have a good time.
We got glow sticks, pizza.
Glow sticks, that's right. Glow sticks, pizza, pop, DJ. It's gonna be a good time.
And then Saturday, June 1st, 2024. Mark this. Mark this on your calendars right
Mark
now.
your calendars.
Yeah,
Mhm.
P.E.A.C.E Summit.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to happen at the professional center. Yeah. I'm sure there will be surprises at that we won't want to miss.
You absolutely do not want to miss it. I mean, this is the culmination of all the things that we've done over the year. So starting from October all the way up to June. So we are going to have a big celebration. It'll be healness, wellness. We're talking yoga and what else?
Drum circles.
Right?
Those,
It's
what
going to
do you
be
call
awesome.
Vision boards? We have all the things.
Well, you had me at
Armies
drum
of time.
circle,
I know.
but I guess ultimately the standard by which we'll be judged, like the nurtured heart, is how far can we spread this word?
Well, Greg, I said if you look at the last page in the booklet, you'll see there's a little otter, our cute little umbrella mascot, asking, do you want to be part of the future of what the power to end adverse childhood experiences will be? And that is a call to everyone that is involved with child welfare, because the truth is that any movement is only as great as we make it together collectively. And that's why that tenacity, I will not give up. So I'll be here next year. And whether that looks like consortiums where we're having deep conversations or, whatever that looks like, I'm going to be here. If it looks the same as it does this year, I'm down for it. But I think we have to just keep showing up and bringing people that have experiences, that know what needs to change, including that youth voice, into the picture, because it comes down to a sense of like what we value, and flipping that narrative. Being in foster care, you're an example of great resilience and overcoming things and surviving and just like amazingness, and changing that dialogue so that we can get the best of all of us, Mm-hmm. So whatever we do, it'll be amazing.
It will indeed. I truly, the children that I work with, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how the kids go from day to day. I really don't. The level of stress. Did you get a couple of years ago, I guess maybe a year before the pandemic, um, Perry Shaw from A Better Way did um, an event where it was a simulation of returning from being incarcerated and the various stressors that hit you when you're in that situation. And when you're a child, and I mean, clearly that's not the same as being a child in foster care, but very similar in the kinds of pressures and the kind of lack of control. Just having lack of control of your life that um, makes it so hard for the kids to function. And I keep coming back to that, I guess, because that's sort of what I see the most is just how hard it can be to function.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
For example, like sleep at night. Seems like when the kids I work with, when their heads hit the pillow, that's when the demons come out.
Yeah. That's when your brain starts to process, right? Your unconscious starts to deal with all the things that you've dealt with during the day before, the week before, the month before. And that's kind of like, that's what ACEs is, right? All the things that have happened to you that leave you in that state of fear, that state of constant hypervigilance, that you can't calm down, you can't reset, you can't adjust, you can't find your balance. And that's what we're working to explain to people that happens to our children that come from abusive homes, regardless of what level of abuse it is. It could be, just neglect, which is very hard to prove, right? Very hard to see. Or it could be malnutrition. It could be abuse. It could be drug abuse, mental health issues. All that stuff affects your brain and how your brain develops and how you react to things later on in life and how you deal with life. And that's what we want to bring awareness to. And we want to also bring awareness to with these family events, right? How to combat that, how to retrain our brains to find peace and balance and calmness and undo some of that past trauma and past history and build that resilience.
You have to re-network the brain.
Yeah.
I mean, your brain is primed for chaos and stress.
Yeah.
And so, that's where you go. If it overflows into issues with emotional regulation, too quick of a stress response. And this is all covered in the training. I will be honest, we go into that, but that leads to an adult who has issues with dealing with any level of stress. It can set them off into, a complete undoing. And I think there's a level of understanding we need to have about kids and older youth, and that they have higher adversity, so they're more likely to have these types of responses. And we often, it's a really horrible scenario, right? Because you have a teenager who has faced all this adversity, has never really had a strong support system, and then they're moving from placement to placement. Maybe they're in a group home once. Maybe they had to stay in a shelter. I mean, imagine what that's like. And then when the child, runs away or threatens self-harm, even homicidal ideation, how are we shocked? I'm like, I would be like that. Wouldn't we all? If you don't have a support system, if your voice is ignored and you spend most of your life struggling, it should surprise none of us that that's what happens. But the hope in the message of ACEs and PCEs is that it is changeable. It is, with hard work, with everybody recognizing that comes to the same language. We have to be having the same language. We can't have some people saying ADHD or oppositional defiance disorder and others saying adverse childhood experiences. We have to have the same language. We have to continually be that support. So I really, really believe in it, my whole heart. And what Carlissa was just talking about is you were really sort of going to what happened to you, weren't you, Carlissa?
I did. The Cheerios story. The Cheerios
just share the Cheerios story.
So there's a Cheerios story. There's a training in April. It's April 27th. It's What Happened to You. It's based on the book by Oprah Winfrey and
Dr. Perry.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. they've been talking about stress and adversity and how it affects the brain for like 30 years. It's an obsession of Oprah's. They wrote a whole book. Michele created a training off of what happened to you, which is absolutely amazing. And I'm starting to listen to the audiobook because I love an audiobook, right? Audiobooks are the best. You can do things, you can listen. It's amazing. There's a story in there. Oprah did one of her episodes decades ago. This little girl's mother was dying, and the family took like a year-long vacation. So they just traveled with the family to have these experiences and these memories for the children with their mom before she passed away. The week before she passed away, they were in Florida, and the little girl came back in from swimming, and her mom was in the bed, and she asked her daughter to bring her a bowl of Cheerios. So she brought her a bowl of Cheerios, and she says, my mom eats all the time, and she always gets up around 2:00 in the morning, and she'll go to the kitchen and she'll eat. So she asked her mom that day, Mom, she slept in their room that night. And she said, Mom, if you wake up in the middle of the night to go get Cheerios or get food, will you wake me up so I can come with you? Mom says, sure, no problem. So sure enough, she wakes up at 2 a.m. She wakes up her daughter. They go downstairs and they eat Cheerios. A week later, her mom went into the hospital and passed away. So for all the vacation that they had, all the things that they did as a family, the one thing that stuck with that little girl, who at the time I want to say was 7 or 9, was the Cheerios. So it's that one thing that we create with our children, that one moment. So those positive childhood experiences that one thing, having Cheerios with mom at 2:00 in the morning the week before she passed away, can combat the fact that she's suffering the trauma of watching her mother die, because she has that one positive experience to fall back on. So when we talk about these positive childhood experiences and ACEs can happen over a number of years, right? So we can talk from birth to say 5, a child might be removed at 2 or 3 or 5 or 15. That's years of ACEs, these adverse childhood experiences. It only takes a moment to combat some of that. It only takes a moment of connection, a moment of love, a moment of focus, a moment of presence from a caring, loving adult to combat at least half of what they went through in their lives. So that was my Cheerio story. And yes, I was talking about what happened to you.
That's a sweet story. Now, when you're going into a home and you're working with a whole family, could I just ask you, if there's if the mother has a new boyfriend, just kick his ass right from the start and show him who's boss. Okay. Because
sign me up. I love a good ass kicking. Sign me up.
I see.
Is that a thing? Is she's got to write that into policy?
I see it too much that the new boyfriend comes into the home and gets away with all kinds of bad stuff, just because he can provide some food and other things. I mean, to me, that's one of the tragedies, because that woman needs that person to come in and provide some food.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about food, providing a little food and rent money or something like that,
which could solve a lot of the problems that we have with child welfare, right? Yeah. With children being in foster care. And I think that's where Be the Change comes in. Like that second half of our training day is Be the Change. We're talking about what is missing in your community that can fill that gap. Like, where are our services that mom doesn't need to have the abusive boyfriend in the home to provide food?
I think that we should also say, though, that because what we're talking about is really complex, because if you have adverse childhood experiences, and also we know that they're intergenerational as well, so you can actually pass it on, which is, it really goes down to the epigenetics, like what genes are primed to turn on or off, which you're going to learn about at the training. It's phenomenal stuff. But I think we have to understand that sometimes we stick with the patterns that are most common to us. So if we saw our mom or dad abused in a specific way, or being abusive in a specific way, and then we grow up and we're, a father or mother, then our propensity to repeat that, because it's what we're comfortable with, is also a factor. So even if you had like all the food and all the supports in place, and I agree, they should definitely be there, you still got to do the hard work to, get the brain where it needs to be to feel safe with safety.
There's still the wiring part.
Right. There's still the comfort with, I would say, chaos, like almost, being okay when everything's upside down. So causing it in patterns. is something that can happen with high adversity. So, it's a very complex, multi-pronged thing. But the key is to have those with high adversity to feel free to speak, to be able to feel safe enough and have, less shame, less blame, less guilt, and to be able to become powerful and be that change maker. And when Carlissa is talking about the book, What Happened to You, the underlining recommendation in that book is changing the way we ask questions. So from saying, what did you do, or why'd you do that?
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? Thank you, Carlissa. I always get that wrong.
Yeah,
changing what's wrong with you, changing it to what happened to you, because that's where you're going to get the actual answer, and that's where that moment, that spark of change can happen, right? So that's why it's so important, I think, that conversations like this are had, really.
Absolutely. Ebony, what do the kids think about this? Do they give a damn?
I think they do. I honestly think they do. And obviously some youth will be more vocal than others in regards to what they want, what they need, what their experiences are. But at the end of the day, I think it's still important, even if they don't know, to provide them that information, to know that these things that happen to them is not their fault, and that they can overcome those adverse experiences, right? We have youth in our program who have had the most challenging histories. We had a youth who actually was in 30 different homes, who just bounced around, had a very difficult time. But at the end of the day, she graduated with her bachelor's, she got her master's, and she is doing great things. So I think one important thing that happened with her, she did find that one positive adult who's told her, even though you are doing these things, sometimes she was acting out, that I'm going to be here for you regardless. And so I think ultimately, if they have that one person in that positive experience, they can overcome ACEs and all of the trauma that they have experienced.
Yeah, it is amazing how strong some of these young people are. Mm-hmm. That one person, a kind word from one person, the fellow who passed away a few years ago, Bob Danzig, who was a foster child in the 1950s and grew up to be the CEO of the Hearst newspaper corporation. I give his books out all the time when I go to trade shows. Had one person in his life, he had one social worker who said the words to him, "You are worthwhile."
Mm-hmm. Think about that.
One person. I mean, because you imagine the strength of this fellow, the strength, the intellect, all this stuff that is tucked in there, right? That gets suddenly unleashed, by this one person. And interesting conclusion to that, he told me that years later he found her. When he was a successful person, she was in a nursing home. And he found her and he said to her, "I want you to know, that when you told me I was worthwhile, that's what did it. That's what turned the light on." And she looked at him and she said, "I told that to all the kids."
Oh, boy. Oh, that's, yeah. Well, I think it also tells you how positivity and believing in others can impact their sense of self. And, if you're told all the time, you shouldn't bother, don't bother.
Right.
Or if you're bullied, it's hard. How are you going to overcome that? But if you have, even if it's just the one person, that's a benefit. Research kind of dictates that it does need to be consistent, I will say. But there are always exceptions, right? And they're not, I wish we could get them just a formula and a few words and you're golden, but it's definitely work.
I think a lot of that woman's attitude had to do with the time in which she lived. She was a social worker in the 1950s. Detachment was probably considered an important professional obligation. Whereas now, come on, we're allowed to let our feelings, get into these things and be invested in the safety, certainly, of children that we work with. Go, please, if you're listening to this show, go to the Umbrella website, Umbrella, EMBRELLA.org. and look for events, right? And the Peace Initiative, P.E.A.C.E, the Peace Initiative, and sign up for everything. Be a part of it. I will tell you the reason that I'm pushing this like a salesman here is because I have never seen one of these workshops that on any subject that gave you what you need to take it back into the community and spread the word. Okay? I've never seen one that provided this kind of a structural framework. So I'm hoping this is the one. And like I said, a couple of years from now, we'll all be out of business and we'll be having cocktails in Boca. Like
We'll find, we'll find something else. We'll definitely, there's always something we could move that passion over to.
Pleasure to have the three of you on the show.
Pleasure
Michele
to be here.
Rodriguez, Carlissa Snowden
Gause. Yes.
and Ebony Lenard. You know I love you all. And yeah, I guess you're right. Once I attend the trainings and come back, then the three of you are going to have to come back on the show and give us another Monday night of your time. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you at home for staying with us the whole time. I want you to know that we will be back next week. My guest will be a very interesting lady named Jessica Harrington to talk about, she's going to talk about how to relieve all this stress. There's way too much stress in the work that we do, and we have to be able to get out of it. Do you know, like I was standing on a beautiful cliff overlooking a mesa, just a few weeks ago. And it was weird, man, because I couldn't get out of my head, like, the feelings that I have, like, wherever you're standing in the United States, anywhere, wherever you happen to be, you're no more than 10 miles away from the nearest homeless person. And that's what I'm standing on, this beautiful mesa, and that's what's going through my mind. I need somebody like Jessica Harrington to come on the show and talk about how to relieve all that stress and get our heads into mindfulness, into the moment in which we live, and not worry so much about what happened in the past and what will happen in the future. So join me next week. It's going to be a very important show. Thanks very much to our producer, Robin, to our engineer, Ruben. Music provided by Mozart. I don't know why he works for us. He must need the money. Stay safe, everyone. Until next time, remember, it's only Monday. There's plenty of time to make this the best week ever. Good night, everyone.
Good night.